test, test.
No, you only got one out of that.
Oh, I'll do the bridge. Test, 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 test. Test, 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 test. I'm waiting for Hal to be like, Ryan, we started 5 seconds ago. Take it.
We actually did.
Yes, I knew it.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is take 2 of episode 32 because we had some recording issues in a different area. So we moved to an area with no buzz. I don't feel a buzz this time.
No buzz, no buzz.
I'm just feeling the buzz of having a good time.
Yeah.
Just life.
You should be a radio DJ, Ryan. I'm feeling the buzz of having a good time, dude.
Do your impression.
Of what?
Being on the radio.
Welcome to FM Hal and Shannon, where this time we give you $1,000. All you have to do is text while you're driving. This time on Jackass.
Man, you do have that voice down.
Well, I love
In a world
where things happen and everyone gets their cookie in the end.
Yeah.
These are good cookies.
Is that about sex?
No, these are really good chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah, this is like I said, I have a witness who bakes cookies, and he used to actually operate a cookie stand and just a bakery in general at the Broad Street Market, but has retired from it. But he's the sweetest. He's one of my absolute favorites who always comes with us because he's always interesting. He's on the level about a lot of political things, which you don't always find with people in their 70s these days. And he brings me cookies, so I really love that guy. He's...
Anyone who brings me treats is good in my book. I don't know who decided that you should bring treats to your local bank, but people do it all the time, and I love each and every one of those people.
It's the truest of cookies.
Exactly.
No, that didn't work. Ryan's much better at it than me. So yeah, Ryan actually suggested while we were recording the other part that maybe we just talk about video games first this time to get it out of the way.
Welcome to Video Game News with Hal and Ryan. It's a bit now.
Hey, what happened to Shannon in this equation?
Oh, and Shannon.
Yeah, I guess Shannon can come along.
Is it because I sprained my ankle that I'm like less of a person now?
Well,
is it the 3/5 compromise?
I mean, you're literally I wouldn't say that, but you're literally less of a person.
Listen, 4 limbs and a torso, and I got what you meant. I don't know what else you would be talking about.
I was impressed, however, that because I remember you were mentioning that because of your ankle sprain, which I totally forgot about until you showed up on crutches yesterday, you would be limited for Vidjam this time, and we did it
anyway.
Yeah, we found ways to incorporate you, although I felt so bad because when we took the selfie with just the 4 of us at the end, and I was looking at last night, I was like, you can tell Shannon is in pain in this photo.
She's only laying down fully in the recliner.
Yeah. It's like, this looks like, it kind of looked like a photo of Christopher Reeve, where she couldn't even support her neck. She was just like, ugh.
Well, folks, Breath of the Wild 2 is out.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, the DLC.
Yeah,
Okay, let me be fair. Hold on again.
I mean, it did start out as a DLC for Breath of the Wild and just grew out of control from what I've read, so.
No, but here's the thing. Everybody keeps saying, it's just a DLC for Breath of the Wild. I think you guys all fail to realize that there is the sky, and I watched a TikTok about this, and you realize in the entire lead up to this game, they didn't even really talk about the fact that they added a whole Hyrule underneath Hyrule.
Yeah, I've barely explored that at all.
Same.
So, is it not the same Hyrule?
No. Well, I mean, if
it's
you're going
years
into the
later,
depths,
right?
Well, yeah, it's years later. Mm-hmm. And you're going into this chasm, which just leads you to this underground Hyrule, this whole other world.
Yeah. It is and it is interesting because they mentioned that this was pretty much the first. I mean, like I said, I haven't played Majora's Mask, so I don't know how close that was of a system to Ocarina of Time. It looked fairly close.
It is very close, but it takes place in a different dimension, which I always thought was silly. Well, first of all, I want to equate Majora's Mask to Tears of the Kingdom. They're kind of... Tears of the Kingdom is like the Majora's Mask of the Switch.
Yeah, because both Ocarina of Time and Breath of Wild were... It would be fair to say that those were probably the 2 biggest smash hits in the Zelda history. I mean, they've all been hits, but those were the ones that everybody played.
Yeah.
And so those were the 2 that sort of warranted sequels, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I love Majora's Mask. I do. It was one of the first games, not just Zelda games I played. and it was a pre-owned game, so the game was beaten. But my older brother and I had no idea what we were doing. We just ran around and had a grand old time.
Yeah,
and then we played Ocarina of Time, and we're like, oh my god, it's like Zelda, but not. Mm-hmm. It's a whole new adventure.
That's a weird thing that doesn't exist anymore. Was like when we were kids, actually, almost all of our games were pre-owned. Like we went to this like bizarre secondhand video game store called Game Club America over by Ollie's, which hasn't existed there for more than 25 years.
Ollie's bargain markets.
Yeah, it's exactly. We'd go to
Good
Ollie's
stuff, cheap.
and then we'd go to Game Club America. And it was kind of like all of our games were secondhand. So like every time we'd buy a game there, like somebody had a quest on there saved that they'd beaten the game, so you could actually just skip ahead and see the ending, which we did sometimes. But it was fun because like the guy who ran the place played everything. There were games I got stuck in that I had to call and ask like what to do next, and he knew exactly what to do every single time. So yeah, it's kind of like the comic book shops and things are like. And CD shops are definitely a thing of the past at this point.
I'm going to steal some content from a friend of mine who I just read their post on Facebook.
Thief.
I know, but
I'm disappointed.
He made some really good points, so I'm going to give him credit. His name's Noah Lugens. He's actually a friend of my dad's, which makes him my friend, I guess. And he talked about he's logged about 200 hours on Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, wow.
200 hours.
It's only been like 200 hours since Tears of the Kingdom was released.
I'm not quite sure what Noah does for a living.
There's only like 140 hours in a week.
I'm not quite sure. But he like just beat the game, not because it takes 200 hours to beat the game, but because he was like trying to savor it and like trying to do a bunch of different things before, finishing.
I think all of us are playing it with that in mind.
Yeah.
Especially like since Breath of the Wild ended too quickly. I took a while to beat that game, but even then I wanted to savor more. So I'm really taking my time with Tears of the Kingdom.
Right, same. And a couple of things that he pointed out that I thought were really interesting was first that Breath of the Wild was a hard game. Like comparatively. And that, in a lot of the puzzles and a lot of the boss fights, like you would tear your hair out or have to go to figure out what you were supposed to be doing. Like you literally couldn't figure it out. And he was talking about how in the original Zelda games, like that was kind of the direction that those games took, because the idea was that kids would then go to school and figure out amongst themselves, like on the playground, it would be like a social community of people playing The Legend of Zelda who were trying to figure out these puzzles, and like it added this community portion. But now in our current age, we're not really doing that anymore in terms of like
just looking it up online instead.
Yeah, and that's not nearly as fun. So Noah pointed out that in this game, Tears of the Kingdom, that the boss fights are, and I don't want to, what's the word I'm looking for? No, I don't want to devalue the boss fights and like the different fights that you're experiencing in Zelda, but they are a little easier than they were in Breath of the Wild. Yeah,
so I was actually thinking like some of the puzzles I think are a little harder in Tears of the Kingdom, because there was one in particular that I'm pretty sure was I can't remember which shrine this is because I've done like 40 of them so far, but like the last puzzle was you had to get one of those balls into like one of those circles to like open up the final door. And it was like 3 rivers and rafts that you were trying to build, but like the ball was too heavy for any of the motors to work on any of the rafts. So what I did was I just built a ladder out of the rafts to go up another ladder. I put the ball on top and was able to just take it across the rest of the way. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This was the solution to this? Like, were you just fucking with me by showing 3 rivers, or was that...
Well, that's the thing, is that there's... what I love about this gameplay and the development of the game is that really, yes, there's probably an intended way to finish all of these puzzles. But
it's meant to be broken, is what I've read.
Yeah, I guarantee that, there are at least a third of the shrines that I've done where I didn't do it the right way. I just kind of cheated. But then again, it's not cheating if I get the Light of Blessing anyway.
Yeah. I agree with all that. I haven't... I was actually thinking last night while I was playing a couple of them that it really is an interesting... It's more like an exercise in creative problem solving more than anything, because there are so many different solutions that you can take to finish any sort of puzzle. So it's like, okay, maybe I'll try this. And actually, I have not had to look up a single solution yet.
Oh, I have. I'm stupid.
In fact, I was really proud of myself because, and I actually was, I sent this to Brad, Ashley's husband, a couple of days ago. And I don't know if you've gotten to the shrine where you have to construct like a pinball paddle and then whack the balls to.
Yeah.
So I did figure that out on my own after a lot of trial and error. And then there was a Kotaku article last week saying that was one puzzle particularly that everybody on Reddit was complaining about because they thought it was almost unsolvable. And I was like, I figured it out. Yay.
Yeah.
I am so smart. I am so smart. SMRT. I mean SMART.
Why complain about the pedophile relationship in this game when you can complain about a hard puzzle?
Well, that was in Breath of the Wild. I haven't...
They're back.
Oh, you're talking about like the Zora?
Yes, the Zora child.
I feel like that's a recurring theme though in like all of the Zelda stuff, like because that was the case in Ocarina of Time too, right? Except that Link was the same age as the Zora girl for all that. But yeah,
listen,
there's a lot of input. Like everything is basically implied about whatever relationship they had. So,
and there was a lot of outrage about Sidon getting a fiance.
I don't know who that is.
Sidon is the Zora champion.
Okay.
And
no spoilers.
No,
I don't. But people out there might, I guess.
No, this part isn't a spoiler, but it was so funny because, like, in Breath of the Wild and over the last few years, people have shipped Zelda and Sidon because they're quote unquote best friends, and so we've all been like they're gay together. But then this new game comes out and they gave Sidon a fiance, like a female fiance, and everybody lost their minds.
Well, I read something too that there was another Fox Business News outrage specifically over Zelda because, and this is an interesting train of thought. Link has sort of become a weird sort of non-binary or trans icon in some areas of.
Sure, I can see that.
And I didn't ever compute this, but it's because Link is fairly androgynous looking, and it's very much by design because the original creator had said that they wanted a character that would look like anybody who was playing him. Like Link
is
kind
of sweet when you think about it.
That's nothing new, actually.
I never thought of it that way, but it totally. I mean, Zelda's been around for 30 some odd years, so it makes sense.
More than. They're coming up on 35.
But the Fox News pundit who had a huge thing about this is like a typical boomer under the assumption that video games are only for children. And so he was saying that this was another way that they are trying to groom our children into things, ignoring that most of the children in the world don't have $70 to drop on a fucking Switch game.
Well, that and the farther we get into the Zelda franchise, I'd really be interested to know the ratio in terms of current Zelda fans, like how many are actually children.
Yeah, going back to what you were talking about with the original Zeldas, because my dad played all of these games with me when I was a young kid who couldn't possibly figure this out. And I think that's exactly what he did. He just, there were a few people at his office who also played video games, and he would chat with them about video games. And in fact, for Zelda 2, for some of the more complicated puzzles, like having to play the flute to get rid of the giant river monster, for instance, he had these maps that he just drew out from something that a friend of his at work had described. And I thought that was really cool. And
maps, you say how?
And
yeah. Oh, I forgot that Ryan loves maps.
Well, but the other cool thing is that we haven't completely lost that community for Zelda either. I know Noah was talking about how, most of the times when we're trying to solve things, we go to the internet, but I've had very lengthy conversations with you, with Ryan's older brother, another guy that's with us in the musical that we're doing. We're all playing Zelda together, and we're all talking. We've given each other different tips on how to fight different things, and how to get a certain ability and whatnot. And so I think that's worth saying that there is still a very much thriving Zelda community.
Yeah, it's like I was saying too, with Breath of the Wild, I had to look up a lot of solutions to those games. So that I guess that fits into the Tears of the Kingdom is easier conversation. But I think it's more that I don't think Tears of the Kingdom is easier. I think we all just understand the mechanics a little bit better because
that's true.
With Breath of the Wild, I'm so used to video games having things you can't do that I was really poorly conditioned for a game where you literally could do anything. And so I wasn't used to the idea that there are a couple of different solutions to break the game for certain puzzles. For instance, I couldn't tell you what shrine this was, but there was one where the solution was that you had to freeze time on an object and then hit it as hard as you could to propel it forward.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was something you could do until I looked it up online.
Yeah,
so.
like the potential energy of the object and like using that. That was something I had to kind of figure out. Now with Breath of the Wild, I got decently far in it. I'm not going to say on my own, like I was looking up walkthroughs and things, but I would say last Christmas, is that when I got the guidebook for Zelda? Last Christmas?
There's a guidebook for Breath of the Wild. Is it like Is it like an encyclopedia?
It's like literally you can do. It has the walkthroughs for all the shrines and everything.
Oh man,
I'll let you borrow it. It's pretty cool.
I might want to leaf through it actually.
But give them the first one I gave you.
Oh God.
There were no pictures. I'm
Right.
sorry.
Oh my
got
god,
the
so
wrong one.
that's a huge deal because like only. I don't know if it's still Brady games, but
That's me.
but there used to be like for the Final Fantasy games, there were like Brady Games was the only one who could do the play guides, and then the other like guide company would put out guides, but there would be no pictures with it, so it was a completely fucking useless.
Oh no, this
thing.
book is First of all, it's gorgeous. It has great artwork, and it also has like conception art from the games.
Oh, okay.
But like I think it's called Becoming a Champion or something like that. And I mean, it gives you walkthroughs on all of the quests, all of the shrines. That's how I finished all of the quests and shrines in Breath of the Wild.
I bought the Breath of the Wild soundtrack.
Nice.
Like when I was playing the game, because you couldn't actually like there were no digital downloads for it. You actually had to buy this like 7-disc CD thing, which is still in my car because I still listen to it, and it did include this book of like gorgeous concept art and everything in there that was like 30 pages long. Like, I mean, I spent more on the soundtrack than I did on the actual game, so they gave me good bang for my buck there.
Oh sure, yeah.
Well, thank you for listening to Hal, and Ryan Video Game Monthly Review.
Again?
Are we done?
Forgetting
No,
Shannon?
there's more to talk about here.
Oh, and just Zelda?
No, what I'm saying is you said Hal and Ryan, and you keep omitting.
Oh, right.
He's trying to take you over on the podcast.
And Shannon, yeah.
Oh my god.
Eventually, this will just become the Ryan and Wallace podcast. It'll become like the X-Files when Mulder and Scully both left.
We're not. Our podcast isn't old enough for that. Stop it.
We're
Damn,
still in
you
our
found
first
me out.
season. Which, by the way, you were talking about like when do you get to season 2 earlier, and
Yeah.
I've thought about this a lot, and I'm like, I guess when we get to 52 episodes, but we didn't do an episode every week, so
The
No,
Depression
yeah.
Vacation Podcast GT.
is that
Wow, nobody got that
is that an
joke.
AI joke?
No.
Or-
You know, like Dragon Ball? Dragon Ball Z.
I was not allowed to watch Dragon Ball.
Neither was
unfortunately.
I, but then in middle school, I got like really into it.
See, all of my friends when I got to high school were like, and Dragon Ball is exactly what I would have loved as a kid if I had been allowed to watch it. But by the time I got to high school and like all of my friends who were into Final Fantasy and Zelda were like, oh, you got to watch Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. It was so far along. I was so hopelessly behind. I never even tried.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with Dragon Ball Z. Going back to a really interesting topic, though, I love one of my favorite plot points with Ryan is like the various reasons why he was or wasn't allowed to watch things growing up.
Oh, yeah.
Because the logic following is hilarious.
Well, Dragon Ball Z was pretty sexual,
Oh, well, fair enough, but I just think they're...
in all fairness. I only got into it because there was a clean version on Nicktoons.
Oh,
Nicktoons.
I think it was like TBS or something that it aired when I was a kid, like every day. But
Well, it was on the Cartoon Network at night, I think. They had an anime hour.
Yeah.
yeah, this is an interesting concept Shannon brought up though, because there are a ton of shows I was not allowed to watch as a kid. And so, like, the entirety of that pop culture is lost on me, and Seinfeld and Friends are both on that list.
So I've seen all of Friends, and my dad was very adamant about us watching Friends. He was like, this is a pop culture necessity that you need. But Seinfeld wasn't on that list for me. Like, my parents weren't into it, and they didn't really push it on me, but I know that your parents love Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah. They,
And Everybody Loves Raymond. They think that's the pinnacle of comedy.
yeah.
Oh, Everybody Loves Raymond. So a fun story about Everybody Loves Raymond is the creator of that show was a recent Hofstra grad when I went to film school there. And he came like almost every single year to like give talks at Hofstra. So I saw him a bunch of times. And they always had like a Hofstra flag on Ray's kitchen. So like they shoved Everybody Loves Raymond on us pretty hard at school.
Was it Ray Romano?
No, I couldn't remember what his name was, but there were two. Interestingly enough, there was another filmmaker too named Kenneth Lonergan. I don't know if you guys know who he is.
No.
Nope.
At the time, he was a recent Hofstra grad, and he'd written a movie with Mark Ruffalo called "I'm There" or "I'll Be There for You," which was it was a pretty big success to have a screenplay produced at that point. And since then, he actually directed Manchester by the Sea, which was a big like Oscar hit a couple of years ago. So he's around a little bit, and every time I see him, I'm like, oh, that's the guy who used to come to Hofstra every year. That's cool, as well as the Ray guy. So.
Yeah.
But the Seinfeld is a weird sort of thing because I feel like Seinfeld isn't. It was designed not to be a story on any particular episode, so you're just talking about certain bits, which are hilarious. It's kind of like what Chappelle's Show was.
So going back to ASMR,
I don't think we even got to ASMR on this particular recording.
No, we didn't.
That was in the other studio.
Oh man! Well,
but if you'd like to start this
awkward.
conversation,
So anyway, ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. Okay.
Ooh, tell me more.
All right. So.
Oh, he will.
Oh, I will. So basically, what happens is if I don't know the statistic exactly, but if I had to guess, like a quarter of humans have this sensation that a euphoric sensation that can be described as tingles that run through the back of your head and your spine.
Okay.
And it is set off by certain triggers. Okay, so it can be anything, really. It can be anything from, some people might know, there's tapping involved. So people will tap on the camera, and it triggers this euphoric, relaxing response. So that's a popular one. That's why a lot of people associate it with that. It can be triggered by someone's presence. I remember before I knew what it was, I worked as a games clerk at Hershey Park, and there was just this random person that would walk by, and maybe it was like their scent or something. I literally don't know, but it triggered ASMR just by them like being like, "Hey, how's it going?" It wasn't relaxing or anything. It was just like inherently. But for some reason, when this person said, "Hey, how's it going?" it triggered this massive wave of relaxing euphoria over me.
Is this like an attraction trigger, or is it something different?
No, not at all. I don't know if... Now, I mentioned before we started that it is banned
in China,
right now because they misunderstand it to be pornographic. That is what they cite as their reasoning for banning it.
Well, China also wouldn't let Girl Ghostbusters be played because it wasn't culturally relevant.
Yeah, well, they have their bright sides, but but obviously it's not inherently sexual. I mean, you can make anything sexual in all fairness.
That's the great thing about humanity is we can make feet sexual. So
yeah, well, that one is because our sexual attraction brain mechanism is literally right next to what controls our feet. This is real.
I totally believe you. I just didn't know this.
That's why feet are so popularly fetishized, besides, of course, breasts.
Yeah. Feet have never been a thing for me. Yeah.
I describe myself as very vanilla. Okay, so...
I think we didn't have to have you tell us that, Ryan. I think just you... I don't think anybody didn't guess that.
Oh, okay.
It's okay.
Well, it's always the ones that you wouldn't expect.
Like 4 years ago, I was dating somebody significantly younger than me for a very brief period of time, and she had me take a kink test. Specifically, I am also very, very vanilla, and a lot of the questions on the kink test made me very uncomfortable. Like, I was like, why are people into this exactly? However, I will say, because this weirdly came up at work a couple of days ago, when we were talking about just different sexual proclivities and things like that. One of my really good friends who was an editor I worked with in California, I still follow her on Instagram and stuff like that. And she, in the years since I've known her, entered a dom-sub relationship, and it's become her life essentially. She divorced her wife, and started this whole new life, and apparently she's super, super happy with it, because it's just her thing. It's something I don't quite understand, but I can see it, and well, I don't know what the point of this sentence was exactly.
Well, it makes a good point that if you're not into it, you won't get it. Mm-hmm. So when I try to explain ASMR to people, and maybe even be brave enough to show them the YouTube videos that I will watch for sleep. Though, there's a lot of I don't get it. I'm not sure I really like this because it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Of course, it wouldn't make sense if you don't have this particular trait, which gives you these euphoric, tingly feelings.
Well, that's just the great thing about being people. I mean, great depending on who you're talking to, is just everybody is so goddamn different. And all of our like triggers are different. All of our ASMR things are different. And that's what makes us interesting, really, I think.
I think it makes us interesting, but it also is kind of a curse when we really sit down and think about how complex we are.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult to come to kind of this realization that as far as we're aware, we're the only beings that have this complexity. And so it kind of, in some ways, makes you feel like you are very significant, yet very insignificant.
Yeah. In fact, this kind of reminds me of like I used to read hard sci-fi because that's exactly the kind of like lonely 20-year-old male I was. But there was a really good book my dad had told me about for years. I read the first year I was in California, called The Mote in God's Eye, which was I'm not going to say the plot of it, but essentially they meet an alien species where there are like specialized different caste races within this alien species. Like some are engineers, some are fighters, some are specifically thinkers. And when they're introduced to humans, if they spend any sizable time with humans, they go insane because they are not used to the concept that a human could literally be any one of these things or all of these things at the same time. And the concept just drives them crazy because their caste is very much more specialized. And I thought that was an interesting idea, just the idea that, like, yes, humans could be everything and anything at once, theoretically. So, and if that was not your reality, that would be maddening, I think.
Yeah, no, and I think in some ways, the way that we experience our human experience is really maddening in general. Like, likening it back to like Legend of Zelda.
Thank you so much. This is all I just really want to talk about Zelda.
No, but
I'm third wheeling Shannon and Hal over here.
Ryan just wants to talk ASMR.
No, okay, but so we're going deeper here. But here's the thing, today I was playing Tears of the Kingdom and I found this pile of rocks, and underneath this pile of rocks was one rock that I could lift. So I thought to myself, Korok.
Yeah.
And I lifted the rock and I took it out of there and there was no Korok. And Ryan was like, well, it has to mean something. I was like, yes, I recognize it has to mean something because they put a rock under all these rocks that can be moved, so it must do something.
Or maybe they're just fucking with you.
That's what I was thinking.
Nintendo could have very well done that just for shits and giggles.
Yeah. But that's what that's the thing, is that's kind of maddening, is that they've created this whole other world where I can't explain how I feel about it, because when I think about it too long, it's a concept that's almost too big for my brain to wrap around.
Yeah.
But the idea that, we've created, just thinking about video games, and how sophisticated we're getting with AI and creating these worlds. And Tears of the Kingdom, in relation to Breath of the Wild, is a huge game.
Yeah.
It's
Breath
huge.
of the Wild was already a huge game.
Oh my God. And so what I'm saying is that, like, the fact that all of these facets exist, where not only do we exist, but subsequently we've created, and this goes for storytelling and all this other media and art that we create. It's just maddening how much we've created in terms of like consciousness and expression, and I'm talking myself into circles, but you get what I'm saying?
This is actually an interesting point, because I read someplace a few years ago that because there are more movies and TV shows being produced now than ever, and video games, that in the last the last 3 or 4 years, more media has been produced in this world than the like previous thousands of years combined, essentially. And a lot of that too is just because people are writing their own things and doing their own things where that used to be very specialized. I mean, look at Vidjam. Vidjam has like 150 movies that's been produced through that already. So just like the sheer amount of worlds that we are creating and like pieces of fiction we're creating, or even documentaries and things like that, far outnumbers what existed in the entirety of human knowledge before that. That's a crazy thought.
It's really crazy. It's really deep. What do you think, Ryan?
Well, going back to ASMR.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. No,
I just kind of knew you were going to go back to this.
No,
I
but
Get it out of your system. Go ahead.
yeah.
no, but I think this is very interesting. The reason why it made me think of it is because, you're talking about ASMR and how not everyone has this experience. And so when you think about billions of people on this planet that each have their own individual experience, and not everyone experiences things the same way. I mean, I think about this constantly where I'm like, are the interactions that I'm having even real interactions? Because like in my perception, we're doing a podcast right now talking about the nature of human existence, but is that really the perception that you're going through, and we'll never know?
Boogle schminkle smort.
Oh man, I've thought about this so much as a person, like specifically with colors. They say because
Yes.
I've always wondered. I'm like, I bet everybody sees color a lot differently than me, but they all just line up. And when somebody's like colors just don't line up, that's color blindness. So. But you never know, because you never will be able to experience somebody else's world.
Tell me about your repeating dreams, Shannon.
Which ones?
When your dreams repeat, just in general. Like you have a sequel to your dream.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't think I've ever had a sequel to my dreams.
So the point, well, Shannon said, remember, you ever have like a dream where like you're like, oh, I dreamed about this once, and this is like a continuation, like a sequel.
Never has happened to me.
So I made the point, well, it might not be your brain,
right, yeah.
your subconscious just thinks that you had a dream about this a different time, but wouldn't have thought much of it until you had another dream that you think is just a continuation, where in reality, your mind is just telling you that
You've done this before.
you've done this before.
Yeah.
Without actually having done so.
That makes more sense. I think I've probably had a dream like that.
and then
somewhere.
when I think too long about deja vu, I get mad and then sad.
You know, I haven't had deja vu in a long time. Like, it used to
I-
be constant, and now that you've mentioned it, I can't think of a time in the last, like, 5 years where I've had a feeling of deja vu.
Well, that is when the timeline split.
Or when the Matrix is reprogramming
Oh
itself.
my god.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't supposed to tell you about that.
Oh my god. Don't even get me started. Because then, so you know what I really hate, like on Facebook or just on any kind of content platform whatsoever, when I see those messages that are like, it's us, we're trying to get you to wake up from a coma. I hate those, because I'm just like, I get you're making a joke, but is it a joke? I don't.
Well, no, the computer's planting that just so you think about how ridiculous that is. It's like hiding in plain sight.
That's what I'm worried about.
Oh, okay.
Man, this has turned heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to think about things like this. I'm always like on YouTube searching for videos, especially if they have ASMR content. Okay, I'll stop. I'm sorry.
No, you can
keep
on
going.
that.
We'll just keep changing the subject. So
Go back to
and-
ASMR. We're not trying to bully you.
Okay. No, so I'm a content maker now.
hey, do you know about Zelda, by the way?
Oh yeah, you are a content maker.
Yeah, I am.
What content are you making, Ryan?
ASMR.
Map making ASMR.
Are you like doing the "you are deep, you are feeling okay"?
No,
You are-
I like to think I have like a Bob Ross style, you know, and
And we're just gonna put a nice little tree over here.
Yep, that's what I strive for. But I make like freestyle fantasy maps.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something Lauren had said that she used to do a lot too. Like, I think you and Lauren are like spiritual buddies or something.
That's awesome.
Yeah. In fact, she showed me something like she was clearing out of her like cabinet yesterday, and it was like a little portion of a map a friend drew from her from a story she was writing for NaNoWriMo like years ago.
Oh, that's great.
And I'm like, this is so cute. I mean, it was very small. It was just like one small citadel area in a forest. But I was like, that was a sweet thing for a friend to make.
Yeah. Well, mine are continents. I'll just make up these little stories about the different kingdoms. You know?
I miss doing that. That was my entire life when I was growing up. Like, I would just take all of my action figures and make fantasy things. And then I would go around the house in a cape and a shovel and do fantasy things, too.
Yeah.
Because we had a shovel that was shaped like a gun blade, sort of, from Final Fantasy VIII. Like, it had the curved handle and then the spade. And I was like, this is my gun blade. And now I have a real gun blade.
Tell Hal what we did the other day.
We went to a place called the Drunken Smithy. And Shannon slid down the stairs on her butt on purpose.
Did you have to because of the crutches?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's not the part I wanted
you
to
tell. It was adorable. But no, I want to put that in because I want to just appreciate the lengths you will go for my birthday surprise. And we go in, and Shannon set up for us to forge our wedding rings. Yeah,
that's so cute.
We very literally crafted our wedding bands.
Mm-hmm. I'm so excited. I kept the secret for a month and a half.
That's such a
month
cute
and
thing.
a half.
That's one of the most romantic, cute things I've ever heard, especially as a surprise.
Yeah.
And tell them where you got the idea from.
Oh, well, so I want to take credit for it, but in Love is Blind this past season, one of the couples that actually didn't end up getting married, they forged their own wedding rings. But I was like, oh my God, that's such a cool idea, because Ryan and I's favorite show to watch together is Forged in Fire, and we're always talking about it.
You've mentioned this on a podcast before.
I thought you were going to say Love is Blind.
Oh, no.
As like
no.
satire.
Because I think Lauren had told me also Forged in Fire was a really good show to watch as well.
Well,
yes.
and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, how cool would that be? But I bet you we'll have to drive all the way to like Philly to do that kind of thing. And you know what? I look it up, and wouldn't you know it, there's this smithy in Palmyra that does silver ring workshops. And I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. So I booked it, and I kept the secret. I told everyone but Ryan. Aww. And they all kept the secret.
And,
shout out to
and
everyone else.
And my grandma, apparently.
Aww,
I didn't tell Grandma?
This is so cute.
Because I knew she wouldn't be able to keep the secret.
Yeah, I know. Well, I planted flowers for her the other day, and she was like, now, it's okay if you don't finish it all in one day. And I'm like, well, I'd like to, but especially because I'll be back tomorrow because Shannon has some kind of surprise in Palmyra. And she goes, oh, I guess I wasn't invited.
Oh, my God. No one else was invited.
Why would your grandma be invited to you forging your wedding ring?
Well, she didn't know about it.
I'm like, I have no idea what it is, Grandma. And she's like, well, no one told me. And I'm like, well, maybe they were worried you'd, accidentally say something. And
this feels like
she unironically said, me? No.
This definitely feels like a sketch from I Think You Should Leave. Like, why wasn't I invited to your surprise that your fiancé is throwing for you? Like, who says that?
It's almost just like we were talking about this morning with the baby from when we were there on Memorial Day. Mm-hmm. Do you want me to tell the story?
Yeah.
I think you're already telling the story.
Yeah, take it away.
But I want Ryan to have more talking time because...
Okay.
Trust me, Ryan has talked a lot more than you on this podcast.
I'm napping over here.
Yeah.
So we're at... it's Memorial Day. The whole family is there. And Ryan's parents opened up their pool. And so his brother and his wife brought their newborn. Well, not newborn. He's 6 months now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he, we were putting him in the pool, and he wasn't having the greatest of times, but, experience is important. So Ryan's grandfather says something to the effect of,
Here, I'll say the quote. So he was like, well, maybe he doesn't know the difference between hot and cold, And then Grandma responded. Go ahead.
Grandma goes, what, do you think my great-grandson is stupid?
And she thought it was so funny that she repeated it so she knew everyone heard how funny she was.
It was hilarious, but it wasn't hilarious because she was funny. It was just hilarious because that's not how it works.
I mean, perhaps the baby doesn't know really the difference between hot. I don't know. This is a confusing topic all of a sudden.
Well, it's a nerve-ending thing. Like, it's not about an intelligence thing. It's just about whether or not you can feel hot and cold.
Yeah, I get that.
So the worst part, though, was that the baby wasn't having fun because it got splashed a little bit. I love how I'm referring to my nephew as it. Anyway, but
it's still an abstract concept until he can talk.
Yeah, so...
he doesn't even know he's a person yet.
yeah, I'll say they. Yeah. How about that? So they did not have a very good time. And so Grandma keeps saying, oh, the baby thinks it's too cold. You better get him out of the water. And even my dad was like, Ma, stop. And she's like, I didn't say it to her. I said it to the father. It doesn't count then. She said that.
Oh my God.
Interestingly enough, like something that I just was thinking about while you were mentioning just all this baby not knowing it's cold or hot. Do any of you have any ideas what your first memories are?
Yes.
Because I was thinking about this the other day, and I think I know what my first memory is. So, but I mean, it's really tough to tell. What do you think your first memory is, Ryan?
4th birthday. I wake up, I walk into my parents' room, and they go, surprise. Well, they didn't say surprise, but I was like, happy birthday. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy. And they blew up a jump castle. Which I did not remember asking for the previous year because all they got me was cupcakes because my sister had just been born.
Aww.
And so they were like, Ryan, we feel bad about not giving you a proper celebration. What would you like next year? Well, name it. And I'm like, a jump castle. I probably didn't even know what that was.
Aww.
I just liked to jump and I liked castles. So I happened to ask for a real thing.
That happened with me with my aunt one time because my aunt was she still is my godmother, and there was like one year when I was like a little child that there was like a bug collection kit that one of the kids had, and I was like, I really want that. And then a year later she's like, Hal, I really remember that you said you really wanted this and I'm so excited to give it to you. And I was like, oh, a bug collection kit, that's cool. Like, I feel like children disappoint their adults all the time. Like, there was in particular, the year before my grandfather died, like my dad's dad, my sister Christy was like 2 or 3 years old, and he gave her this baby doll he was really proud of, but it was such an ugly doll. Like, the poor, like, 86-year-old man could not pick a doll to save his life, and Christy kept referring to it as baby yuck yuck.
Oh my God.
We're like, you broke Grandpa's heart a year before he died.
So since I turned 4 in June, right? Mm-hmm. And still do, believe it or not. I born in 1997, so it would have been 2001 when I turned 4. So if you think about it, what happened in the next couple of months when I first started having memories?
You became a person.
No, I was going to say 9/11.
Oh. Damn, now I feel so old. I was a junior in high school when 9/11 happened.
Do you remember 9/11?
Yes, I walked into my parents' room. This is a reoccurring theme, I guess. But I walk into my parents' room, and my mom is sitting on the bed on the phone with her college roommate and watching the TV in their bedroom, and there's a building smoking.
Wow.
And I'm like, Mom, what's going on? And she's like, oh, some bad things happened.
I actually don't remember 9/11, so that's weird that you do.
Yes.
I'm a year older than you?
Yes.
How old would both of you have been at 9/11? I guess for Ryan, 4.
I would have been 5 then.
Oh, man, that's crazy, too. Because I remember 9/11 so vividly because also I was 16 years old when it happened. And like, I'd had a football game the night before, actually, and my parents let me just play hooky and stay home from school because it went late. I didn't feel like going to school. And so I casually woke up at 10 a.m. to watch the People's Court before Price is Right, and there was a smoking building everywhere.
Yeah.
And then, like...
what's really funny is they did not see you in school on 9/11.
Well, so it got even, like, the second part of the day was even weirder because...
I have a new theory.
Oh, that I caused 9/11. Yeah, sure.
I was on the bench.
I'll
take
that's your
blame
response.
for it.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. I accept blame for things that aren't my fault. I talk to my therapist about this all the time. Yeah. But yeah, the other half of the thing I wanted to mention too was like one of my best friends was the only Muslim kid in the entire Catholic school I went to.
No.
So his parents did pull him from school after all that was happening. And so I just walked down to his house, and this is when we were learning about video editing, and we made a cartoon in Microsoft Paint and just like recorded voiceover for it. And yeah, that was our day.
How was it 9/11?
No, but the school did burn down and explode in several frames of this particular cartoon.
Oh my God.
So, but it was before it was the school. So
yeah.
It was a mental asylum and an international house of pancakes when it exploded.
Oh, I see.
That makes sense.
I don't. So the thing with me is that I don't have a whole lot of very vivid childhood memories, which is a trauma thing. But I think my first, like my earliest memory, if I can call it that, is my dad walking into his and my mom's bedroom. I was really young, and I'm trying to think if Ian was born at that point, which would be really silly because that would mean that I would have this memory from like being almost 2 years old, which would be weird.
And you can have memories that early. It's unusual, but you can.
Well, I don't. So the thing is, like when my mom was pregnant with Ian, I would like sit on her lap and like lean my head up against her belly, and I just remember sitting with my mom in the bedroom like that. And my dad coming in, and it was the first time that I guess this was the first time I'd ever like seen him shave his beard off.
Oh.
And I just started screaming and crying because I didn't know who he was.
Oh, that's so sad. But I can see why that would be a thing, honestly.
Yeah. I also have some memories. Another very early memory, and this was after Ian was born, was I decided to go into the bathroom cabinet and take all of the chemicals out and pour them into the toilet at the same time.
Oh.
Yep. Mr. Yuck stickers don't work.
Oh, I forgot about Mr. Yuck. Oh, I loved those stickers. We had them on the phone for some reason. But the interesting thing about memories, because I looked this up a few years ago, and it's entirely like there's a mix between culture and like genetics for like certain races because interestingly enough, on average, the Maori children are the ones that have memories the earliest at like 2.5 years. But the average kid is like 3.5 to 4 when you get your first memories. But the memory I think I have as my first memory was probably like from 2 to 3, I want to say, because I remember us going on like a long road trip in a car where I saw mountains. And my parents took me to the Grand Canyon on a car road trip right around that time. So it might not be my first memory, but I think that might be. Like, I'm not 100% sure. But also, like, an interesting thing, too, is, like, as I've talked with my sisters, we lived in a different house until I was, I want to say, 5. And I'm one of, like, Kathy has a couple of memories of the house. Christy obviously doesn't have any. But I'm, like, the only kid that has a lot of very vivid memories of our old house.
Yeah. I don't know what kind of memories my brother has, but like my earliest like house memories, we lived in a trailer park up until I was about 4 or 5 years old, and then that's when like my parents split up. So yeah, cool stuff.
So Zelda.
Yeah,
let's get back. As Ryan would say, we're being too depressing.
Oh man.
Well, I want to talk about
ASMR.
Ryan, talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. You are our esteemed guest.
Okay, so I'm playing this game, Bannerlord.
Is there ASMR in this game?
If only. And I downloaded a mod that directly connects ChatGPT to another website with a key to my game, so that in real time I can talk to the procured AI characters.
This sounds like it's terrifying but fun.
So I have a daughter in the game.
Wow.
And so I'm like, hey, how's it going? And she's like, it fares well, father. How are you? And I'm like, pretty good. You excited to be the queen soon when I die? And she's like, actually, father, right now I'm trying to focus on my music career as a singer. I have great aspirations. And she just goes on about how she aspires to be a singer. And I'm like, this is getting interesting.
It's gotten to the point where I can't, like, I'm starting to just not want to look at AI generated videos and things anymore because they're so, like, the edges of them disturb me way too much.
Yeah.
Like, there's too many holes where there shouldn't be holes, and everything looks too polished. Like, the first time I saw, like, what was it, the pepperoni hug spot commercial for the AI-generated pizza place, I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And then, like, I saw other ones for, like, AI-generated pizza nuggets, and an AI generated hamburger restaurant, and they just got like, it disturbed me, like the way that things happened.
There aren't a lot of conspiracy theories that I jump on board with, besides there being a bunker under the Denver airport. But I do think people should be more concerned about the rise of AI.
I think so. Actually, it was on, like, when I was on my way over here to record this, NPR was talking specifically about that because they were the guy who, like, invented Chat GPT and a couple of other, like, AI specialists. Actually, it wasn't the guy who invented it, but it was other people who had used AI for different applications for the last, like, bunch of years. They wanted, like, a 6-month moratorium on any AI uses at all while they figure out what to do with it. And I think that, like, I really don't like that AI is becoming a big thing because I think ultimately it's just going to make people super boring. Like, I have a lot of friends who just post way too much AI artwork all the time, and it's not like they made it. It's in fact, I was playing around for a little bit because Adobe, like the Creative Suite, released Firefly in beta, and I got chosen to beta test their AI, and it was fun for like a couple of minutes, but like, it's a lot of work to teach an AI prompts to get something you want, and it's never really correct anyway. And it just felt very shallow. It wasn't like something I created.
Yeah, I hopped onto one of the voice generators, and I spent a couple of minutes having famous sports commentator Al Michaels make a curated message telling Shannon how sweet of an ass she has.
Well, and I can't do an Al Michaels impersonation.
If I heard more of him, I'd do it. But.
Oh, I hear Al Michaels all the time. He's the best of the football broadcasters still left. Love me some Al Michaels. He's still on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I'd do an impression, but it would take a miracle. You might say.
Yeah, where's Frank Caliendo when we need him? But yeah, the only application I've seen for, like, part of the reason I started doing the AI thing through Adobe was, like, motion graphics are something I've always really sucked at creating. Like, other friends of mine seem to get it, but my brain is just never wrapped around it. And they were saying that, like, motion graphics through AI was something you could do. You can't because it's still super clunky and it's in beta. But that was the reason they hooked me. And also, I've seen Wallace has done a couple of, like, play posters and movie posters using AI generated artwork, which I think is actually not the worst. Like, I think that's an okay application of it. Because, like, you're not often going to find an artist to give you a poster directly for just, like, a one-act play you're putting on somewhere. So I think that's a cool idea, too. But, like, it's very limited what I would want to use AI for.
What are your thoughts, Shannon?
Yeah, Shannon, you've been quiet. She's eating her cookie.
Nope.
No.
I'm tired.
Same.
Her ankle hurts. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shannon's in a wheelchair. I don't think we mentioned that, by the way.
Well, I've been on crutches, but thank you, Hal, for pulling out the wheelchair, because crutches, everyone, are the bane of my fucking existence, and I hate them.
They probably chafe your armpits, too.
They do, and it's just not... You're not as mobile as you... I haven't been on crutches since high school, and for a good reason, mostly because usually I don't fall down.
Maybe you should get your armpits removed, because we found out yesterday that's a thing that can happen.
Oh my God.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't change the fact that whatever would be there would be
chafing.
uncomfortable. But
That's okay. We'll go back to crutches boot camp.
Crutch camp.
I don't want to.
Okay. I made her do laps back and forth in the living room until she got used to it.
It was probably a lot of exercise, I imagine.
I
but
hate it.
Yeah.
I really do. I was thinking, though, and I know it's completely off topic. How much time do we have?
As much as we want. But we're at 53 minutes right now.
Oh, okay. Ryan, Hal, do you know Ryan does really good impressions?
Yeah, he's done a couple of impressions for me. I
Has
can't
he done
remember
them on
any
the
of them.
podcast?
But
Have you done them on the podcast before?
I don't think so.
Do Kermit the Frog.
Hi ho, Kermit the Frog here.
Everybody's
this is a terrible impersonation. Why did you do this to me, Shannon?
What was the
I'm
other
here
one?
with Shannon and
Goofy. You do a Goofy, which is pretty good.
Why are you making me do characters? Name like a real person.
Oh, Barack Obama.
The American people.
That was a little better.
I just like saying the American people.
We're moving in the right direction here.
You do Emperor Palpatine.
Okay.
Young Luke Skywalker.
Okay, yeah.
With only 3 more strokes of my lightsaber, I will make him a true Sith Lord.
Yeah, that checks out.
Do it. Do it, Harold.
I can't do a lot of impersonations. I think because my voice is too unique. I've been told I do a good Gollum. That's like the only one.
There you go.
Precious. Yes, it belongs to us, and we want it back.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Filthy hobbits.
I can't do it.
You have to let the spit curl in the back of your throat.
Well, I pride.
Oh, my dad used to do Donald Duck all the time when we were kids, and
What
it
a
amused
dad
us
thing.
so much.
All right, so the other I can do like vocal ones. Like I pride myself.
I just thought of the one non-vocal one that I do, but I have to move away from the.
Well, and by non-vocal, it's not that we're not using our voice. It's more like we're not talking.
Yeah.
So the one that both of them are too loud for me to do it next to the microphone.
I do impersonations. I've got a coworker and also one of our this is not the nicest thing in the world. One of our CPAs we work with. I've spent a lot of time with them, and they both irritate me a lot in a lot of ways. So I've picked up on their mannerisms that irritate me. Like, for instance, I was telling this to some of my coworkers, and I feel bad because this guy is a nice guy. He just, like, all of his mannerisms irritate me. And one of the things I don't like is that he slurps after every single word. Like, okay, that's good. Okay.
We also
this looks good.
We also know a slurper.
It took me months of hanging out with this person to realize what irritated me, and I was like, it's the slurping. He slurps after every single word.
It's a good thing these rooms are soundproofed, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we both do Star Wars impressions.
Shannon moved away from her mic, I
Yeah,
noticed.
she's about to scream.
Okay.
Literally.
What was that an impersonation
Yeah,
of?
what was that, Shannon?
It was R2D2.
R2D2.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Shannon.
I mean, now that you mention it, I can kind of see it.
All right, my turn. Ready?
We do... I gotta go. Oh, yeah. I used to do a good Chewie impersonation because that's just me yawning really loudly.
Yeah. And then I can do a didgeridoo.
Oh, no.
Do we not want to hear the didgeridoo?
I think you didgeridoo should.
I think I didgeridoo don't.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, man, it's like I'm watching the end of The Mandalorian all of a sudden. Yeah.
You have a story about your didgeridoo impression.
Yes, I was on Discord one time. I was on Discord.
Let me tell you a story about my didgeridoo.
I was I was on the Reddit League of Legends Discord. So women, pull your panties back up.
You and Ryan Lockman need to talk a lot more about this.
Yeah, no, he brought it up while he was standing in your yard in his underwear.
Yeah.
He's staring at me in his tighties, and he's like, "So, other Ryan, I hear you like League of Legends." I'm like, well, I haven't played. Do you like League of Legends?
Ryan loves League of Legends. As has been stated on this podcast, he and I shared a car ride to and from Philadelphia like 6 years ago where he talked about nothing but League of Legends. I didn't understand what he was talking about, and I still don't, but it was nice to hear somebody who's passionate about certain things.
So,
Hal, are you a Hufflepuff?
Yeah, I probably am a Hufflepuff. That's why I always tell people, I'm like, I say I'm Gryffindor, but I'm probably Hufflepuff.
so it's to circle back to things I wasn't allowed to watch as a kid.
Harry Potter?
Harry Potter,
Yeah.
because not because there's witchcraft, because
Because that's totally real.
because the wizards are portrayed as good guys.
Okay.
Because in the Bible, it recognizes witchcraft to be a real and present danger to the faith. And so my parents believed that by portraying the witches and wizards as the good guys, that was literal heresy. And so they thought it was a bad influence on us, and we were not allowed to have anything to do with Harry Potter.
We weren't allowed to listen to a lot of music growing up, too, like rock music. And specifically, my dad had a crusade against MTV, which all sprang from just one Jerry Springer thing on spring break where somebody jump roped naked. It was my dad, I think, mostly because he didn't consume any of this media, did what any reasonable parent would do and just listened to Rush Limbaugh about what his kids should and should not be consuming. And MTV was one of the things that got the brunt. The Simpsons was banned and unbanned like 3 separate times in our household. And but But yeah, that's partly why I love musicals so much. Is musicals were the one thing that was always on the approved list of things to listen to. Like I didn't listen to any sort of actual popular music until I was like 13 or 14 years old.
So like Chicago. Talking like nothing happened.
Yeah, so this is going to be an odd podcast because Hal accidentally hit the space bar just for no particular reason a couple of minutes ago. So we're starting a new file just to add but Ryan was
Pretty
talking.
much the end.
Yeah, we're pretty much the end anyway. Ryan wanted to finish his Discord story.
Yeah, so I got banned from Discord, and I'm not mad about it. That was the story.
I've never been Discord. There was one of the people in our improv theater
Probably for the best.
tried to start a Discord for the improv theater like during the pandemic just to do one. And we already had a Slack where everybody was talking, and I was like, I don't see the point of this. Like everybody still does things in the hit Slack. So yeah, sometimes you don't need something. But Discord is like very popular with Hearthstoners because like whenever I'm looking for new decks to try, the discussion is always on whoever made the deck's Discord. So that's like the only time I do go on Discord is to like discuss the ins and outs of certain card combinations, usually to like hear people bitch and complain about certain deck combinations that are toxic until they get nerfed. But yeah, that's my deal.
Yeah. One time we went on the Smash Bros. Discord. Those were very nice people, very positive attitudes all around.
Is this sarcastic?
Yes, this is very sarcastic.
Isn't Ryan so good at sarcasm?
I really hate Smash Brothers. Like I have it.
Do you?
I don't like. I don't get it. Basically, like I try to play it. The button mashing is clearly not enough to actually compete with people who know how to play the game, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
It works with beginners, but that can be said with like just about every game, right?
There was another podcast I listened to where one of the comedians who was a big gamer loved Street Fighter and would play that on like Twitch, but hated Smash Brothers because he said that it was too much randomness. Like the skill level, like he said Street Fighter and like those games were all commiserate with skill level, but Smash Brothers was a combination of skill and randomness, which interestingly enough is why Hearthstone is a better game than Magic the Gathering in my opinion.
Well, I'll tell you this. I got wrecked many times over when I started playing online, and now that I've done it quite a bit, I keep pace.
That's
just by the nature of it, you can get better at Smash Bros.
Well, I mean, you get better at everything. Like,
yeah.
That's what Guitar Hero taught us when that game was popular.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we'll have a Smash party sometime.
Yeah, Smash Party.
We used to have, I never played, but my friend group in college would do Smash Brothers tournaments.
You picked it up pretty quick though.
Yeah, but I'm still not good at it.
We used to do Smashes for my one improv group that was Dungeons and Dragons based, and those would be like our team building hangouts. Which we would just go to my friend Dan's house and play Smash, which that was fun because we were all kind of about the same skill level there. I could actually win matches, but my sister's boyfriend is like a Smash expert and will not take it easy on you. He specifically just wants to humiliate everybody who plays against him, and so that's no fun for me because like I'll never win.
This is the way.
This is the way. He's like, you're never going to get better if I don't beat your ass. And I'm like, I'm not going to get better anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Shannon might not be good at Smash, but she sure is good at smashing me.
I knew
Oh my
I knew this
God.
joke was going to come up. You didn't see this joke coming a mile away.
I did, but I didn't think he'd double down on
So
it.
I
Like,
want to
when I
thank
heard
you
Smash
for
Party,
watching
I
the
was
Depression
like-
Vacation podcast.
The podcast. Oh, yeah.
The
Oh my
podcast.
gosh.
Was that a Freudian slip?
Yes.
Ryan's been having a tough time because Shannon's incapacitated.
Yeah, it's been a while. The Ryan's been in the cave a little
Oh my
too
God.
long.
All right, we're milking this too much.
Yeah, well, hello.
Or maybe not enough.
No,
Hello, Shannon. You're looking very Mickey-outy today.
Oh my God.
Well, I thank you, Mr. Hotbod Handsome Man.
you don't need a foot to kiss.
And you said you were vanilla, too. This is interesting.
Oh no, I only kiss.
Oh.
No hand holding until marriage.
You don't
obviously.
need a foot to kiss my lips. You don't
Need a foot to kiss my lips.
You don't need a foot to kiss
Don't need
my
'em.
lips.
You never need 'em.
Don't need a foot tonight.
A handy old Jew.
All you need is one hand
hand.
and maybe a pair of lips.
That'll do.
But you don't need any of your toes to give this man a kiss. Oh, yeah. Well, you don't
need 'em.
need a foot.
Nope. Only
Not
one.
to make out with this man. All you need are some lips, enthusiasm, and 1, 2, 3, or 4 hands.
I'll be gentle, baby.
Hey, for $2.99, you can own the copyright to this song. You don't need a foot to kiss by Ryan and the Howls. But anyway, before we end this podcast, what do you have coming up these days, Shannon?
Nothing. We've got our musical in July.
The Addams Family. Ba-da-da-da.
Yep.
And that's what we've got going on.
Yep. I'll plug my content. Check out Ryan Brady ASMR map making on YouTube.
I mean, I'm going to subscribe to you as soon as we're done here.
Thank
you.
Yep. So I can give you all the tingles.
Woo! I'd like the tingles. Let me find out if I have the tingle.
What do you got going on, Hal?
There's a lot, actually. So let's see. Still have Sunday school coming up this month in like 2 weeks. That's at the Harrisburg Improv Theater at 8:30.
It's not actual Sunday school.
No, that's just the name of our group, and we do like prayers to whatever gods we feel like. Like I pray to Bahamut a lot on stage, and then yeah, we have all the Vidjam stuff coming up too. We just completed a Vidjam yesterday.
Woo-hoo!
Actually, I still need to finish editing it, but that's going to be screening, unfortunately, as we found out, Sunday, June 25th.
Yep.
And no one can go.
Yeah, I thought, like, I'm really disappointed about this because it's always been 2 weeks at a maximum. Like, there have been a couple of times that Sam Miller has, like, marathoned it to be the same week afterwards, which is just too much. But I don't know why it's 3 weeks from now because I have to work that weekend, and I'm just going to totally miss that. And then also the Vidjam collaborative project is nearing its completion, and that's going to be screening at the Fringe Festival in Harrisburg, July 7th and 8th. I'll be there for the one screening is going to be July 7th at 8 p.m. at the Midtown Cinema, and I'll be there for that one. And there's a second screening at 4:30 p.m. on Sunday. I won't be there for because I'll be in Cape May, hopefully. So
I just thought of something I wanted to say before we end the podcast.
please do.
Because it is June 4th, right?
Yep.
4th.
Yep.
Final thoughts?
Yes, final thoughts. Happy Pride, everybody.
Oh yeah, Happy Pride. How do we go an entire episode talking about Link's non-binary status without
And not
talking
mention Pride. I know, and I'm even a little gay, and it took completely...
We're going to get canceled.
No,
Yeah.
we're not going to get canceled.
I mean, we have
We're not.
Because I
Nice.
said something.
I mean, we have the whole month of June to be like
Yeah.
Happy Pride to people. So
Yeah, we'll do a Pride episode sometime this month, talk about sex and stuff and
Yeah.
gender and identity and expression and all that. So if you are part of the community or a supporter of the community, thank you so much for everything you do for the community. And thank you for joining us on the podcast where at least half of us are gay. So it's totally cool.
Yeah, well, for Depression Vacation, I've been Hal.
I've been Shannon.
And I've been Ryan once.
And thank y'all for listening, and we'll hopefully see you next week.